Good afternoon. Here's the latest at 4. Karen Carpenter died this morning at 9:51, the victim of cardiac arrest. The Grammy Award-winning singer with the mellow voice was only 32 years old. With her brother Richard, she soared to success and fame as the feminine half of the Carpenters with 60 million album sales.
A loss to the entire world of music and to all of us. Karen Carpenter dead at the very young age of 32. Anne?
You've been talking about it, Paul. She accomplished a great deal in the short time that she was alive. Karen Carpenter brought happiness to millions of people around the world who enjoyed her music and followed her career.
Attorney, Miss Carpenter spent last night at her parents' home in Downey. She got up this morning and made coffee.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing today? Here I am in Downey, California. A car coming up right behind me. This is a location I've always wanted to go to. There's going to be 2 or 3 locations for this video. And this is about Karen Carpenter and the Carpenters. Now, I have to say that when I was younger, the Carpenters, I didn't know anything about them. I thought of them as an older act. I've said this about a few artists I've done before. John Denver comes to mind. Acts that become cooler when you get older. Because I didn't really know much about the Carpenters, and I wasn't listening to them back then. And of course I discovered their music at a certain point, like all of us did. And there was a tribute album to them called If I Were a Carpenter. And it had Sonic Youth, Cranberries, Grantley Buffalo, who else was on that? Sheryl Crow was on it. A lot of 90s acts, and they did covers of the Carpenter songs. And I fell in love with all those songs.
Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby? You said you...
Those versions, and then I wanted to find the original versions. And that's what I did. And discover the Carpenters' music. And this video is, I'm going to show you that now I'm called Now and Then. This house here is featured on the cover. This was their parents' house. That the Carpenters, Richard and Karen, bought for their parents. And this is the house where Karen Carpenter passed away. And we're going to visit her final resting place, which is very, very far from here. And we're going to go there. I can show you a couple of apartment buildings that they own that are named after the Carpenter songs. So let's take a look at the house to tell you what happened to Karen Carpenter. And like for people who don't know who the Carpenters are, maybe, or by some of the younger viewers, brother and sister act who became massively famous for their music, for their soft rock, folk pop, I don't even know how you describe it, AM staples, they just, beautiful melodies, beautiful songs. After you watch this video, take a listen to some Carpenters and you'll fall in love with their music too. Let's take a walk right down here. Just in case you're unfamiliar with the Carpenters, just to give a little bit of background, they were a very, very popular brother and sister group in the 1970s. They won 4 Grammy Awards. They scored 12 top 10 hits, 3 #1 singles, and they were huge. So Karen Carpenter started dieting while she was still in high school, and under doctor's advice, she began the Stillman diet, which was eating lean foods and drinking 8 glasses of water a day and avoiding fatty foods. This reduced her weight to about 120 pounds until 1973 when the Carpenters' career peaked. Later that year, she saw a photo of herself at a concert, which made her appear heavy. So she then hired a personal trainer who told her to change her diet, which caused her to build muscle, making her seem heavier rather than slimmer. Karen then fired the trainer and began her own weight loss schedule by counting calories. She soon lost about 20 pounds and hoped to lose more, and her eating habits saw her getting food off her plate by offering it to others. By 1975, Karen was shockingly thin, and She refused to publicly say that she was ill, and in a 1981 interview, she said she was just pooped.
You were ill, weren't you, Karen? I mean, what happened?
That was 75. I was just pooped. When you've been on the road for all those years without stopping.
There were rumours, though, that you were suffering from the Slimmer's disease, from anorexia nervosa. Is that right?
No, I was just pooped.
But you
I
did
was
go
tired
down,
out.
You went down to about 6 stone in weight, I think, didn't you?
Her brother Richard later said he and his parents didn't know how to help her, but that at one point Karen told Richard she needed help with her anorexia, and she chose to be treated in New York City by a psychotherapist by the name of Stephen Levenkron. In the 1980s, Karen had also started using thyroid replacement medication, which increased her metabolism, and laxatives, which made food pass quickly. Her condition continued to get worse, and she lost even more weight. In September of 1982, she was taken to Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, where she was placed on intravenous drip. The procedure was a success, and she started gaining weight, but this put a strain on her heart. She managed to keep a stable weight for the rest of her life after this point. On February 1st, 1983, Karen saw her brother for the last time, discussing plans for a new Carpenters album. On February 4th, she collapsed in the kitchen of this house. It's been reported that it was in the bedroom, but in the paramedics forum, it states the kitchen. Paramedics said her heart was beating once every 10 seconds, and she died at Downey Community Hospital at 9:51 a.m. An autopsy ruled out drugs or a medication overdose, describing her death as emetine cardiotoxicity due to or as a consequence of anorexia nervosa. Karen had a blood sugar level of 1,110 milligrams per deciliter, more than 10 times the average. The coroner said that Karen's heart failure was caused by repeated use of ipecac syrup, an over-the-counter emetic used to induce vomiting. So there's the Carpenters' house right there behind me. Very, very famous house here in Downey. And they invested heavily in real estate, and they owned 2 apartment buildings. And I believe they're named after close to you one of their songs, and we've only just begun. And it should still say that on the side of each building. I'm going to drive there now and take a look. But right there, Karen Carpenter was taken from this house. Right through there, sadly. Okay, let's go take a look at those apartment buildings. But this is the Carpenter's house. Wow. Beautiful, 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 beautiful area. Also, the 1973 album of theirs, Now and Then, the LP features a 3-panel cover that folds out, showing a panoramic view of the house that Karen and Richard bought for their parents in 1970. So there's the album cover right there, with that angle. The house next door, of course, the new one now. You're gonna wonder why you need a chandelier outside. Why? These lions are quite intimidating. I think it's kind of interesting how the Carpenter's house has a sweet little deer on their front lawn. And then these giant stone lions on this monstrosity. Sorry, but I think the deer's a little sweeter. And of course, late in the day, I will be visiting Karen Carpenter's grave in the daytime. But these are the apartment buildings that were owned by them side by side. And I also, I'm going to insert right now, at the time of her death, Karen Carpenter lived in a condo in Century City on Avenue of the Stars. And I was out there not too long ago. And here's that footage. So right there, that's 2222 Avenue of the Stars here in Century City. You can take a look all the way up there. It's a beautiful, beautiful stretch of road. And that's where Karen Carpenter had her condo. And she actually did not die at this location. That was at her parents' place in Downey. But I thought I would stop off here and show that quickly. It's hard to film here. There's nowhere to really stop. A lot of honks. People aren't happy with me parking right here. But, man, it's a little... trying to hold the camera steady. There we go. I had to do it. Here we go. So now, here we are. It's just about a 5-minute drive from the house where she passed away. And what's really cool about these 2 buildings, it's the one on the right and the one on the left, is... like I said, only just begun. I said we've only just begun earlier, but only just begun. I think that's just awesome. It's got the musical notes there. Looks like there's some apartments for rent. Only just begun. So cool. I've always wanted to see these buildings and to finally be here. I've been sitting in traffic all day long. I didn't even think I'd make it today because how bad the traffic is. There's Close to You. Isn't that great? I love it. Love it. I want to go closer to it. No pun. Really nice apartments too. It's a really nice street. I've been looking up these apartments for a while. I always thought they were actually bigger. I thought they were more than 2 stories. But no, it's the 2-story apartment buildings, which are the norm. 2 to 3 stories in California. So Pierce Brothers Valley Oaks Memorial Cemetery here in Westlake Village is definitely one of the most beautiful cemeteries. This is Los Angeles County still. One of the most beautiful cemeteries I've ever been to. It is, you see they're doing some work here, but absolutely, I mean, just surrounded by the mountains. There's residential areas and stores and stuff not too far, but it's on a quiet little turnaround street, and it's like this beautiful, beautiful little area. And here is Karen Carpenter. And she was at Forest Lawn Cypress, which is south, but like I said, has been moved here. Let's see what we can see inside. Now you can see up there, it's hard for, I think, for you to see by the camera. I do not have a key for this private mausoleum, of course, but the family does go in there. See, there's a Mickey Mouse. And Karen Carpenter, there's her signature. Replica, March 2nd, 1950 to February 4th. It's covered by flowers, which is 1983. A star on earth, a star in heaven. And her parents beneath her. And three spots here on the left. Very difficult to get a shot inside. beautiful rock garden, but I am going to leave a small rock that I brought, a white one, for Karen. You can see a few people have been out here. Some pennies, other rocks. Flowers look a little older, probably about a week or two in this hot, hot sun. It is very hot outside today. But, yeah, people come out here, a little bench. 2 benches, I should say. Wow.
We've only just begun to live.
What an impact Karen Carpenter had. Not music from my generation, not music from my parents' generation. Right in between, I would say, roughly. And yet, I know my parents love the Carpenters. I love the Carpenters. Music is timeless.
Talking to myself and feeling old. Long ago, and oh so far away.
I'd have to say, of all this, I've done hundreds of great visits, and there's a few that I take a long time when I'm at. I just sat here for a good 15-20 minutes. It's baking in the sun, but it's so beautiful here, and just quiet. It's so relaxing, and I don't know. I've never sat that long. Maybe a couple times. I can think of a few times, but it's just so peaceful. Karen Carpenter and her parents, rest in peace. We still have the music. 32 years old. No, that's not right. Thank you for watching. Rest in peace, Karen Carpenter. Peace out.